Hi everybody, this is a welcome video to our class this summer in research methods. And this video might be a little bit long. I'll try to make it about 30 to 40 minutes if I can. But basically I want to introduce myself and I want to talk about the class and hopefully get you somewhat excited, if you will, for this class. I know it's a summer class. And I'm going to start off by introducing myself. And you can see in the syllabus here, my name is Kevin Carlson. So in terms of what you can call me Kevin if you want. You don't have to call me by any titles. Kevin's fine. You can call me Professor Carlson if you want to, or Dr. Carlson, or if you want to mix the two of formal and informal, you can call me Professor Kevin or Dr. Kevin. Just don't call me Mr. If you're going to use a title, just use my title that I have, which is Doctor or Professor. But you don't have to call me by title. You can call me by Kevin. And I'm just going to start off this welcome video by quickly talking about a little bit about myself and try to relate my experiences to this class. So in terms of my experience in school, I almost flunked out of the 9th grade. But what happened is around my junior year, some things happened and I started getting straight A's. So I went from almost flunking out of high school to doing quite well in high school. And part of why I almost flunked out of the high school in the 9th grade is I grew up as a poor kid. So food stamps all the time, welfare sometimes, and government housing. And basically the teachers in the school didn't really care much about the poor kids in school. So, and then even in terms of becoming somebody who got straight A's towards the end of school, I still was ignored. My high school counselor never really talked to me about college, so I sort of slipped into a community college. So this is my community college that I went to. So I was a community college student too. So I understand a lot of the things that you've gone through and the things that you're doing. And what I'll say is when I was in community college, I thought I wasn't interested in math or research because I was never told I was good in that. In fact, I was told the opposite when I was in high school. Certainly subtly, I was told that I wasn't good at math. I only took one math class in all of my high school. And I only took the math and research classes that I needed to as requirements. And so that might be your position too. You might be taking this class only because it's required. Not many people take this class because they're interested in it. So I understand that situation. And I transferred to a 4-year state school and was a psychology major. And while I was a psychology major, I again was thinking that I was going to be a therapist. I went into psychology because I was sort of interested in people and I wanted to help people. And I'm sure that a lot of you have gone into psychology because of that also. And so I remember that I wasn't very interested in taking statistics classes or research methods because I thought, oh, I'm going to be a therapist. Why do I want to use that stuff? And actually my academic advisor, he said that I should get involved in doing some research with a professor, and I thought, that's boring. I don't want to do research. I just want to help people. So I know a lot of you are probably in that similar position of thinking that way. What I'll say is that I changed my mind later. I found out later on that knowing statistics and knowing research can really help you out. And so if you do want to be a therapist and you do become a therapist, at the very least you need to understand research that's done on new therapy techniques so that you can be informed when you help your clients. And so at the very least, you need to be informed about the research. If you're just doing what you learned in grad school in a master's program, let's say, and you're doing that for decades and decades, that's not very ethical. You're not a very good therapist then because you're doing something that's quite old. So you need to stay up to date, if you will, on research. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that whole thing when I talk a little bit more about my experiences. And so I actually went into a master's program in clinical and community psychology, again, wanting to be a therapist. And this is in Charlotte, North Carolina. So this is UNC Charlotte. And so in my first year of this master's program, I figured out very quickly that I didn't want to be a therapist. It was, to keep the story somewhat short, I found out that it was going to be emotionally draining to be a therapist. And so it was something that I really couldn't do. I had maybe too much empathy for people, and that started wearing me down very early in my master's program. So I decided I should go into something else. And so one of my morals of the story here is that you might think you want to be a therapist, and that's great, but you never know. You might discover in grad school, or you might discover 5 years, 10 years down the line, that maybe you want to do something else. And so one piece of advice that I'd give you in your undergraduate education is to broaden your skills. And so a great way to broaden your skills is understanding statistics, understanding research, because that really can open up a lot of doors for different careers. And so a class like this can actually give you some nice skills that can give you more flexibility in terms of your educational path and career path in case you change your mind later on. So I switched to developmental psychology, and I got a master's. This is at Cornell University. And so I got a master's in Cornell, and it was a bit more sort of researchy, if you will. And then I got a Ph.D. in developmental psychology, and this is UC Santa Cruz. And so I got my Ph.D. from UC Santa Cruz, and it was a research program, but there I learned that I love teaching. And so that was, I guess, the way that I discovered how I can help people have direct relationships, not as a therapist, but as a teacher, as a professor. So, again, I think a big theme here is that if you listen to yourself and open yourself up to different experiences, you'll find a path that is useful for you. And I would recommend having a pathway that's flexible. And so part of being flexible is knowing statistics and research methods. And so in terms of my teaching career, it's been very important that I know statistics and research methods. That's actually helped me stay employed full-time even during very rough times, including COVID times. And so that's just a piece of advice, is to take this class, even though probably a lot of you think, yuck, I don't want to be here, is it can give you some skills later on that might be useful and give you flexibility in terms of your career. So I taught at liberal arts colleges in the States, and then I decided I wanted to go to Asia. And so I was able to go to Singapore, and I did what was called educational development and institutional research. Basically, what I did is I helped teachers become better teachers, gave them workshops on teaching, and also did research on education. So at the schools I worked at, we looked at what the schools did and what teachers did and how that helped students learn better. And so that was also another way to help people, is to do research on, in this case, how students do better in school when they have certain things from their teachers or from the school, supports from the school. And again, on this theme that, there's different ways to help people. So if you do research like this, I was helping tens of thousands of students a year. I never saw them directly, but through my research, the school made changes, professors taught differently, the school had more supports, added more supports for students, and that affected tens of thousands of students when I was there, and probably by now it's affected, hundreds of thousands of students. And so research also is a way that you can help people. Again, I know I'm sort of going on a little bit about this, but I do want to say that research is not this sort of cold stuff that you think about in terms of like lab coats and rats and things like that. Research can actually touch people's lives and help them. So again, knowing those skills can give you those opportunities. And what I'll say is that I would never have been able to go to Asia if I didn't know statistics and research. So because I knew statistics and research, it opened up the doors there. So if you have any interest in working overseas, if you know statistics and research methods, it can open up those doors. After Singapore, I worked in Hong Kong for about 5 years, doing similar stuff, doing institutional research, researching how students do, and what things professors and the college does in terms of supporting the students to help them perform better, to make them better students. And so, sort of the same picture there as in Singapore. And again, this flexibility of being able to go to Singapore and Hong Kong was pretty much solely because I knew statistics and research methods. Statistics and research methods are the same in any country that you go to. And so, again, if you ever want to go overseas and you're a psychology major, the big thing is statistics and research skills will get you there. And I came back to the US and I taught in liberal arts colleges. And I also worked as a research analyst in community colleges. So it's similar to that institutional research that I talked about. So in community colleges, looking at what helps students succeed and complete their degrees and get better grades. And so I did that type of work at several colleges in California, in community colleges. And so that's another theme too, is not just sort of internationally, but in terms of jobs, if you can do statistics and research methods, it opens up the door to many, many different jobs. And actually, if you do this, you can look at jobs through different websites about the labor market, and anything that has to do with statistics and research is what they call a hot job, which means they think there's going to be a lot of growth. And also, it can make a lot of money. So there's lots of jobs out there. It's a growth area. The jobs are increasing. And also, people will pay you a lot of money because people are oftentimes afraid of statistics and research. So, again, what I'll say is that it doesn't have to be your main thing. For me, statistics and research is not the main thing. The main thing is psychology. I love psychology. I love developmental psychology. I love different topics. In psychology, that's my love, and that's my big thing. But I also have in my pocket the ability to do statistics and research. And having that in my pocket helps me get these types of jobs. And so, again, it's not the main thing you have to do, but if you have those skills, it can help you get jobs, and they pay very well. And so a research analyst job in a California community college pays very, very well. And a minimum requirement, it would be a bachelor's degree, but it might help if you have a master's, but bachelor's degree and some experience, or a master's degree, and then you can be making a very good salary and a very stable job. And again, you're helping people. So these types of jobs helps tens of thousands of students each year by making the school better and helping students that way. And I've talked to different people who've done jobs like this, and they actually love that type of work because they can see the changes that they can make through this research. So again, part of this sort of talking about my life is to see how this course can be relevant for possibly your own career. I'm not saying you should do these careers, but what I'm saying is learn these skills so that you have the flexibility that if this starts interesting you after some time, you have some ability to do those types of jobs. And so be flexible in your education and in your career paths. And also, they're very well paid jobs. And so these are highly valued skills. So statistics and research is highly valued and actually can give you an advantage. So if you take two psychology majors, and they've taken roughly the same classes, and they have the same experiences, and they know the same stuff. What will be the difference is if one of them knows statistics and research methods, they're going to win. They're going to get the job. It gives you an advantage in the job market. So I hope that this class will give you some skills that will lead to some marketability in terms of your jobs, and also give you that flexibility, because I really want you to sort of think about your future in terms of different things you can do. And you don't have to decide what you want to do now, but if you can have all these different skills you build up, it gives you a lot of flexibility in your future. So that's just a quick overview about myself and sort of relevant to the class and how I see this class in terms of how it can give you flexibility for your career and give you some things that can be very useful in the future. It's not just something that is a required class. And I'll be very honest with you. I didn't have that perspective when I was a student. When I was a student, I took research methods because I had to. I was forced to. But later on in my career, I realized that those skills were very essential in helping me get different types of jobs. And so I do understand the position you're probably in. You're probably taking this class because you have to. You might be afraid that you might fail the class. So you might think, oh, this is a science class. It's a research methods class. I took statistics. I didn't like statistics, or I barely got through statistics. I don't know about this class. So I understand that. And so I'm here to support you. So I'm going to try to, as best as I can, design this class in a way that can help people succeed. And I'm here to support you, like I said. I know that we're online, so it's hard to do this. Sometimes it's hard to make that personal connection online, but just know that I'm here to help you. And I'm doing as much as I can in terms of designing the course and doing the things that we are doing each week in the class to help you pass the class, help you succeed, and hopefully reduce your stress. So that's really what I'm trying to do here. So I really know your feelings coming in, and I'm going to do what I can to help you succeed in this class. And hopefully get a good sense of I learned something in this class and this class was valuable. So that's sort of my big preface about the class here. So as it says here, just reach out if you have any questions. If you have any questions about class, you can email me. If you want to email me a regular email that you write, that's fine. If you want to make a video like this and say, hey, Kevin, here's my question, that's great. I'll listen to your video and I might respond. I might respond in a video. So I respond to your emails. I might respond in writing, but I might also respond in a video. And so, basically don't ever feel like you're sort of lost and there's no help for you. I'm here to support you. So just reach out if you have questions. So let's just sort of review the course, or the nitty-gritty stuff about the course. And so it's research methods. It's summer class, and so it goes really fast. So we have 8 weeks. The regular semester class of this is 18 weeks usually. So we have less than half the time. So we have to go twice as fast in the summer to complete the same amount of work. So it is a lab class too, so it's going to be relatively demanding there. And so I hope that if you're a working person, I hope that this is your only summer class. If you're working 40 hours a week, this class is going to tack on another 20 hours a week. That's probably more than enough for you. So if you're working, I hope that you've scheduled it so that this is your only summer class. If you're not working, I also hope that you're not taking too many other summer classes, because this class will be relatively demanding in terms of time. And so let's just go through here the syllabus. And some of this I don't need to go through with you. So there's a textbook here. There's a link. This is a free textbook. So you can read this online. You can also download it as a PDF. You can read it as a PDF. All those things are free. So looking at it online, the PDF is free. I think there might be some other formats that you can download that are free. If you really want a print copy, you can get a print copy from Amazon for about $10, a new paperback. The link is there in the textbook link down there. So if you're really dying for a print copy, you can get one, but it's not required. You can certainly use the free copy and do well in the class. That's all that's required. So again, that's the link to our textbook. It's there. Email, make sure you check your email. So email and Canvas is a major way that we're going to keep in touch with each other. So make sure you check your email and also check the Canvas announcements. And so one thing I can say about online courses that seems to be one of the big differences between people who are doing well and not stressed out in a class versus people who aren't doing as well and get stressed out in a class is those who do well and aren't stressed, they watch the video announcements like this. So it might take a little bit of time to watch these videos, but there's going to be a lot that's covered that you'll need in these videos. So do keep track of those announcements on Canvas also, and do watch them. You can read the course description and the objectives. We don't have to go through that. Important dates, you can note them here. They're also in the academic calendar online. So let's talk a little bit about what you're going to be doing in class. And so we're going to be doing some lab assignments. And so this is a lab class. And so there's, I think, 7 lab assignments throughout the summer semester. So we have 1 or 2 lab assignments usually for each week. The lab assignments differ a little bit. Some of them are related to your own research projects, and others are just having you doing something that's related to some sort of research method that we're studying. So obviously directions for those will be given when we get those in class, and so there will be lab assignments. And so as I'm talking about these things, I already sort of mentioned that it's a summer class. It will go fast. And given that, one of the biggest ways to succeed in class is to stay on top of the assignments. So make sure you're doing the assignments, you're watching the lecture videos, you're doing the reading, you're keeping up, because that's the biggest key to success. And for an online class, what I would say is try to work early in the week. And so all the stuff is there early in the week for you to do. And so I would say do it early in the week. If you get stuff done early in the week and you finish, let's say, by midweek, then that's great. You can kind of relax. And all the deadlines that I have in Canvas and on the syllabus, those are just the due dates. That's the last time it can be done. I strongly recommend doing things earlier. Do things early, take the stress out. And that's also the best way to learn. If you're not stressed out, if you're not rushing, you're going to learn more. If you're stressed out, you're rushing to meet deadlines, you're not going to learn as much. And so please take my advice on that. I do see when people turn in things, and I'm always kind of shocked by, that sometimes 70% of people are turning it in less than an hour before it's due. It's like, oh, that's not the great way of doing it. And so try to avoid that if you can. I know that sometimes there are circumstances you can't avoid that, but work ahead when you can, because it's going to be much easier on you. So we're going to be doing parts of your research projects as we go along. And so you're going to be doing a big research project and a research paper as a key part of this class. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I'll just sort of say that those research projects, you're not going to collect data. So you're not going to collect any data in class, mainly because we're online and it's hard to do it online. It's hard to work with groups. It's hard to work with groups sometimes in person, but when you're not in person, trying to work in a group can be very difficult. So we're not going to collect data in part because we're online. And also, I think that's a good choice because being online and also being a very short class of just 8 weeks, we don't want to put a lot of stress on ourselves trying to do those types of things, trying to collect data. That can add to a lot of stress. So you're not going to collect data. So you're not collecting data, and it would be unethical to do so. So it seems like 1 or 2 students each semester, even though I say this, say they're going to collect data, and it's like, no, you can't, because it's not ethical. It's not ethical to collect data on your research project because we haven't reviewed it. in terms of the ethical principles. So you can't collect data. So what's going to happen? How are you going to do your research projects? So I have three data sets on different topics, and you're going to be able to define some research questions within those larger data sets. And so you're going to make research questions that can be answered by the data that we have. And they're real data, actually. They're real data from real researchers, and they're from real people. And so you can investigate your research questions based on the data that's been collected by other people. That's actually called secondary data analysis. Secondary data analysis just means that you didn't collect the data, you're taking somebody else's data, and you're trying to answer some questions with those data. So there are videos on Canvas. And since I'm talking about that here, if you go down to week 1, you can see that there's a big module here. It says possible research projects. And there's a video. So there's a video that reviews the 3 projects. And then there's also a document here that summarizes the main variables that are collected in each of the 3 research projects. So you'll be watching that, and you'll be given more information in week number 1 about that. And what I'll say is you want to make sure that your research questions can be answered by the data that's been collected. And so we'll talk more about that in week number 1. So this is the welcome video. We'll just sort of stick with the welcome video. So the research project has stages. And so the first step in your research project is, one, actually you have to define your research question. But once you define your research question, or questions, I should say, you should probably have a couple, 2 or 3 of them. Once you have the research questions, you need to read previous research, previous literature. So you have to do a literature review as an early part of your research project. And so that's going to be an annotated bibliography. So the first step in finding articles, finding research related to your research questions is going to be this assignment. And so we'll talk more about this. So as we have these different assignments, there'll be videos and instructions that will help you focus and know what to do for that assignment. So we'll talk about that later, but that's one of those steps in your research project. So in addition to doing your research project, this class is like another class. We have some content, so we have some concepts and we have ideas that you need to learn as understanding research methods in general. And so that type of stuff is going to be in lectures, and you're going to have 3 non-cumulative exams. So there's not going to be a final exam that is cumulative, that you have all that stuff together. There's just going to be 3 non-cumulative exams. And we'll see this later in the schedule, but basically we'll be done with this by around week number 5. So we don't want to go all the way to week number 8 with our exams, because we want to give you time to work on your research papers. So as I mentioned earlier in this review of the syllabus, one of the things I'm trying to do is to reduce your stress. And one way to do that is that we'll try to cover the content in the exams in the first 5 weeks. That allows us to have the last couple weeks of class to focus in on your research papers and to make that experience less stressful. So we'll talk more about the exams as we get to them. But just a quick note, the exams are essay exams. And those are things that you'll have a span of 3 to 4 days to take each exam. But the exams are something that you can't do early. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to post most of the stuff for our summer semester up in Canvas. And if you want to work early, that's fine. But what I'll say is that the exams can't be taken early. They have to be taken during the time that's specified in the syllabus. And so maybe if you want to work ahead, maybe the working ahead would be more towards your research project, your research paper. So again, getting to the research projects, you're going to have 2 paper drafts that are going to be due throughout the semester. And so that's one thing to keep in mind, is that although you have this big final paper, you're going to be given opportunities to write drafts and get feedback on the paper as you go along. So it's not like you have to do the paper all at once and that's going to be your grade. You're going to get feedback from these drafts. Then we have the final paper. We'll talk more about that. And then related to your final paper, you're going to be doing a poster presentation. So you're going to be constructing a poster, if you will, on your computer, and then you're going to do a video presentation of that poster. And that will follow from your paper. So basically, if your paper is well done, the poster will be really easy to do. And again, we'll talk about these things as we get to them in the semester. So you can just read out the other details here that we have in the syllabus. And so I mentioned earlier that a key to success is to work early in the week. Don't wait till the last minute to do things. That will lead to a disaster in terms of your learning, in terms of your grade, in terms of your stress. So work early. Work early in the week. Try to keep it even. So, you can see here that you're going to be spending about 20 hours a week, because this is an 8-week class, and it's a lab class, and so at least 20 hours per week. So if you imagine that if you try to leave this to Sunday, I guess if you sleep only 4 hours, it'll be 20 hours in Sunday, but you're not going to want to do 20 hours cramming this in Sunday, right? Even saying to the weekend, I'll do 10 hours Saturday, Sunday, that doesn't make much sense to me. So if there's some days you can only do 2 hours, do 2 hours someday, and then the next day do 6 hours. Try to even it out as much as possible. So that's the expectation, because it is a lab class. If we were meeting in person, our meetings would be almost 3 hours long, 4 times a week. So you have to do that plus the normal assignments and exam studying and all that other stuff. And so you can see how 20 hours is what would be expected for this class in the summer. So again, I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm just saying that try to make plans to spend that amount of time to be successful, and to do it early in the week, and to do it in sort of an even way that you're not cramming it, so you're not stressed out. I really want you to succeed in this class, and so just know that that's about the amount of time that you need. So don't cram things in at the last minute, because it will not be very helpful. So, I view this class very openly, in the sense that if you have any comments or things that you want more from me, just let me know. I'm very open to that, because again, I'm here to help you through the class. And then the last thing in the syllabus is the schedule. So I'm not going to go through the whole schedule here, but the schedule is here. And you can see where the readings are and the topics that we're covering. And since we're sort of talking about this, and I'll probably post this also on Canvas as an announcement, we have a lab exercise that's due Thursday, June 9th. If we go to Canvas, we can see it right there. So week number 1, the first thing is lab number 1. And so that's due Thursday, June 9th. Just double checking it. Yep, Thursday, June 9th. And it's really important to do this on time, because with all of our classes at Chafing, actually any school that gets federal funding, we have to say that you're there. And so if you're not there, you're not eligible for financial aid and all this other stuff. And so we have to actually make sure that you're here. And so we're not meeting physically, so the way that I can see that you're in the class is by doing this assignment in the first week. So please do this assignment by Thursday, because that shows me that you're in the class, you are attending the class, and then it's not going to be any issue in terms of you are staying in the class. If you do not complete the class, if you do not complete the lab on time by Thursday, it's possible you might be dropped because of non-attendance. Because if you don't do that assignment, I think you're not in the class. You're not participating. So please do the lab by that time, and then there'll be no problems. And so you can see here the schedule again. And you can see that it moves fast. Remember that we're going at least twice as fast than we would do it in a normal 18-week semester. And so already by week number 2, we're having an exam. It will have chapters 1, 2, and 3 on the exam. I will provide study guides. I don't do that in all my classes, but in my statistics classes and research methods classes, I understand that a lot of that material can seem like it's massive and people might stress out about it. And so I provide study guides. So there'll be a study guide that's posted for each of the exams. And then you'll see also here we have different due dates for different assignments. What I'll do is before each week, I'll post an announcement on Canvas or something in the module about that week's work. So we don't have to go over each of these assignments now because I'll post some videos about those assignments as we get to them. Then we have exam 2 here at the end of week 3. So again, we're going really fast. And the syllabus lists the chapters that are on each of the exams. And again, there'll be a study guide posted on Canvas for each of the exams. And you can see by week number 4, you're starting to write your paper. So the first part of your paper you're starting to write. So again, it's a fast-moving class during the summer. And so make sure you keep up, work early so you're not stressed out, so you can work in a more efficient and a better fashion. So you'll perform better in class because when you're not stressed out, your work will be better. Then you can see that we're doing lab exercises throughout. Our last exam, exam 3, will be completed after week number 5. And so the last 3 weeks will be focusing in on the last part of your paper, so the second half of your paper. So again, I'm trying to build in some time for you to not be stressed out and to give you some time to work on your paper. And so if you spend the time that I've allocated throughout the weeks, throughout the semester, to work on your paper and you do that well, the end of the semester will be really easy for you. If you don't do that, if you wait to really work on your paper to the end, it's going to be a very stressful end of the semester. So again, I've tried to design this so that it reduces your stress and we're chipping away at it. So we're doing a major thing. We're doing that major research project. And so I've tried to design the class in a way that we're doing small parts of it throughout the semester rather than trying to do it all at the end. And then you can see that the full paper, the final full paper is due the 29th. Cannot accept late papers. Actually, Canvas shuts after 11:59 p.m. on the 29th because that's when our semester ends. So that's it in terms of this welcome video. So it wasn't so bad. It's not super long. So I hope that gives you a sense of myself, and I hope it gives you a sense of how this class might relate to your future education and perhaps your future possible career pathways, and gives you some flexibility. And also, again, I'm here to help you. I know that people are often very nervous starting this class. I'm here to help you, so if you have questions, if you need help, let me know. And again, I've designed the class to try to make it less stressful. So as long as you keep up, work early in the weeks, you should do well in the class. And so this is the welcome video, and this will help you answer a number of things in lab number 1. The next step is to watch the video about possible research projects. So the next step after watching this video is to watch that video and to create 2 or 3 research questions that you can do based on the studies that are reviewed there. And don't worry, you don't have to do everything that the study can do. So the studies that are there are large. And I chose them because they are large. There's different questions you can ask, so it makes it more flexible for people. So watch those videos, and as part of lab number 1, you're going to be specifying some research questions that you can explore for your research project in class. And so that's it for the welcome video. I hope your semester goes well. Again, if you have any questions or concerns about the class, just email me and I'll help you out. So take care.